reporting. Now, according to our affiliate, and that is WDRB, one police officer confirmed shot in downtown Louisville. And by the way, tonight's ongoing protests, we're going to take you to the scene. We have video that is coming in as we speak. It is 9 p.m. in Kentucky, in Louisville, where a citywide curfew is now in effect right now at this hour. Businesses, local residents are bracing for a long night of unrest after a grand jury indicted one now fired Louisville police officer with 3 counts of first-degree wanton endangerment related to a raid that ended with the shooting death of Breanna. 2 other officers involved were not indicted. As Tucker was just explaining, 9 out of 12 grand jurors need to agree on the indictment. Now, the Kentucky Attorney General, the investigation there, those 2 officers' actions, they are saying tonight is justified. Again, we'll take you live to this developing story on the ground throughout the night tonight at around 4 p.m. After several violent clashes, police did declare an unlawful assembly in parts of the city, and they began making arrests. Before that, town hall reporter Leo Rosas posted this video to Twitter, where he witnessed a U-Haul truck pull up, distributing anarchist and other anti-police signs and other, quote, gear to so-called demonstrators.
Yeah, who paid for the U-Haul?
On the organization involved in all of this. But first, some background on Breanna Taylor and her tragic death. By all accounts, Breanna Taylor was a kind, lovable, goal-oriented person. She had 2 jobs.
She just got caught up with gangsters.
EMT. It was her passion, her calling in life. She worked at 2 different area hospitals. She had dreams of becoming a registered nurse. In other words, she embodied everything great about we, the American people. Great Americans doing great work every day for their fellow Americans. Her calling, her passion was saving lives. On March the 12th, police obtained search warrants for 5 different locations connected to a suspected crack dealer. That person's name is Jamarcus Glover. One of the locations was Breanna Taylor's apartment.
That's why you got to be careful who you hang out with.
Jamarcus Glover, and as of February 20th, Glover allegedly was listing her apartment as his home address, which it was not. And detectives
this is obviously
entering Taylor's apartment in January
worst-case scenario.
Retrieve a package and then deliver it to a suspected drug house. The warrant obtained for Miss Taylor's apartment was something what they call a no-knock warrant. That means the police, they were permitted as part of law enforcement strategy and techniques to forcibly enter the home without knocking. However, police reported that they did still knock and identify themselves for a period of time before ramming the front door open. And according to the Kentucky Attorney General, one witness, a neighbor, heard, in fact, the officers identify themselves as police officers. Now, at the time, shortly after midnight on March the 13th, Breanna Taylor was in the bedroom with her boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, not her ex-boyfriend, the suspected drug dealer. Walker claims police did not identify themselves when asked, and when they broke down the door, he fired, and he had a legally owned firearm. He did injure one police officer. A gun battle ensued. Police then proceeded to return fire, and that killed Breanna Taylor in a hail of bullets. 8 shots in total hit her. No drugs were found in Taylor's apartment. The only officer charged today by the grand jury was a detective by the name of Breanna Hankinson.
Shoot at officers, they're going to shoot back.
His own department accused him of blinding
you hang out with gangsters
rounds into Taylor's apartment. Keep in mind,
well, you're going to be treated like a gangster.
This is the system of justice that they have in Louisville. A grand jury is comprised of 12 individuals.
All the kids out there should understand.
9 of which have
this is what happens when you hang out with gangsters. Dangerous. The thug life they put out there, it's dangerous.
The defense is not permitted to mount any case. This is just for an indictment. It wouldn't be a guilty verdict. The grand jury allegedly were briefed on
it ain't a game.
Charges, everything from capital murder to manslaughter.
Doesn't matter how good you're doing.
Officer, wanton endangerment.
You're working at a hospital, a nurse. Doesn't matter how good you're doing.
Of course, people.
You hang out with gangsters, you're going to put yourself in danger.
Tonight, in honor of her life, a peaceful life that saved lives, that some and all don't have ulterior motives. In this country, we have a system of justice. We are guided by laws. Is it perfect? Nope. Can I think of a better system? Is there a better system? Not that I've heard. Judges, juries, grand juries, trials. We believe in the presumption of innocence. We believe all the facts should come in. We believe we shouldn't rush to judgment. Now, within this system, we can and should always make improvements, pursue a more perfect union as we attempt to make this country a more perfect place for everybody. Mob rule, anarchy, violence, arson, vandalism, shooting police officers, hurling rocks and bricks and Molotov cocktails and frozen water bottles, using hockey sticks, canes, knives and guns against cops, that has to end. That'll lead to nothing but more heartache, more suffering, burning down, well, fellow citizens.
Violence begets violence.
People in harm's way, kids getting shot from the ages of 1 to 7 to 8 to 19,
exactly.
Every age in between. In a scathing email to
Chicago
colleagues,
and New York.
The officer who was shot during the Taylor
really
incident
going on.
accused city leaders of not caring about police at all or their families at all. And he spoke out against violent protests and encouraged his fellow police officers to do what they need to do to go home to their families. That sounds a lot like, well, I should make a left turn and do my job, but I think I'm going to go right because I don't think anyone's going to have my back. Any way you look at all of this, this is a tragedy, and tonight we pray this horrible situation is not exacerbated any further. Here with the full report, live on the ground, Louisville, is our very own Jeff Paul. Jeff, let's get an update.
Yeah, Sean, right around 8:30, we kind of started to hear people talking about that officer who was shot about a mile or so away from where we are here in Jefferson Park in downtown, Jefferson Square Park here in downtown Louisville. And again, the local affiliates reporting that an officer has been shot about a mile away from here. What we don't know is if this was at all related to the protests or things happening downtown, because of course these officers still have a job to do no matter if there's a protest or not. However, this is what the scene is at the moment as we go into about hour 6 or 7, or minute 6 or 7 of the curfew that was put in place around 9 a.m. You can see some state police out here kind of standing here waiting to see what's going to happen, as there is still a few people who have been protesting out here standing around, not exactly sure what they'll be doing next. And then if you go a little further to your left, you'll see what we have been kind of seeing happening out here is some garbage cans that have been set on fire. In fact, that particular one, when we were doing our live report about an hour ago, exploded right in front of us. I think there was some sort of aerosol or something like that in it. But for the most part of the day, during the day, several hours, in the marches that happened throughout downtown, it was fairly peaceful. When it started getting dark and when the protesters started getting closer to the mayor's house, that's when things started to get violent between police and protesters. John?
Jeff, I want to ask, I saw earlier today, once the grand jury had made their decision, I saw people with long rifles walking through the streets. What are the laws there? And at this hour, do people seem to be, well, listening to and following the curfew that has been put in place?
Yeah, I noticed that too when I got here. It's open carry here, and there's our security guy who's with us today told us, hey, this is Kentucky, but didn't see anybody into the evening out here with any sort of rifle or anything like that. And it's, as you can see, fairly quiet here in downtown. I know there are some protests and people marching throughout the downtown area, but where we are, where it has been sort of ground zero for the protest for Breanna Taylor, it's starting to really quiet down as we get into the night.
All right, Jeff Paul on the ground for us tonight. We'll go back to you throughout the evening. We'll continue to monitor the developing situation. Our thoughts and prayers with the family of this officer just shot. Well, more details coming up. Apparently, we have some video that is incoming now. Also breaking tonight, well, we turn to a bombshell new development that should immediately disqualify Joe Biden from being the president of the United States. A